Remember you at your best? Do you remember the version of you before you started acquiescing to others to make them feel a little more comfortable? This video is about how to get back to your best, and in the next 2 weeks, who will be trying to impede your progress. Even if you don't know it, you were created to fulfill a divine purpose. And in order to fulfill that divine purpose, you need to be the fullest version of you. You need to learn what you need to learn, to go through whatever difficulties get you there, but you need to be the best version of you. That is what the transit is about. Energy is transient. It is not linear. So the best way to describe energy, it's like people you invite to a party. Whoever's in the room is going to determine what the feel is like and what the conversation is like and what the energy is like. So for this new moon solar eclipse, the energy goes from the end of Scorpio to the beginning of Sagittarius. So when you're hearing new moon in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is associated with, Sagittarians are fun, they're party animals, that's higher learning, that's all kinds of really positive things. But that is not what the energy is. So if you are not feeling overly optimistic in a Sagittarian kind of way, there's a good reason for that. Because where this full moon lies exactly is at the end of Scorpio, Jyestha Nakshatra, and then the very beginning of Sagittarius called Mula Nakshatra. And this space, these are just a few degrees depending on how you do the chart. Jyestha is associated with deception, it's associated with enemies lurking in the shadows, it's associated with you getting better and then people trying to trip you up. But not just anybody, the people closest to you trying to trip you up, because where the best enemies hide? In your inner circle, of course. You know to look out for people who are overtly opposed to you. What we don't look out for so easily are the people who are close to us and very carefully sabotage us. Who may not even be aware they're sabotaging us. Usually they are, but maybe they're not aware. That's Jyestha. Mula Nakshatra is associated with the root. So it's looking at the root cause of something, right? So Jyestha Nakshatra, it's the final decan of Scorpio, which is the eagle. So it's taking perspective. And it is the moon card, the high priestess, and death. The high priestess is observing things from a higher vantage point, from a very detached vantage point. And the death card is transformation. She's looking at it. Consider if you are, for example, looking at the battlefield from up above. Or in conflict resolution, we have the saying, go to the balcony. It means, in your mind, go to the balcony and look down at your life and what's going on as if it is a chessboard. Just look at the landscape of what's going on, where everybody is situated, and don't feel attached to it, just study it. So we're looking at it from this very detached place. And we're looking at it from the point of, we're going to transform. This is not how we're trying to be, we're trying to move in a different direction. It's associated with artha, which is purpose. And so the purpose is to go to a higher place, is to go to a better place spiritually. And you need to know how you are situated in the world around you. Who's around you, what's around you. Because if you want to get to a different place, you need to know how to get there. So in order to construct an effective strategy, you need to know what the landscape looks like and where you are. So then moving into Sagittarius. Mula Nakshatra. This is associated with Muladhara, the root chakra. Imagine taking something up by the root and cutting up the root slowly, delineating it into all its small pieces so that you understand the root cause of everything. Mula is associated with karma, the cause of things, the way things move. So in order to understand, you're trying to get to a better place, but you will have to understand then how things move. And again, where you are situated in, say, a karmic wheel or a karmic cycle. This eclipse is also associated with the South Node, which means things from a prior life, souls from a prior life, contracts we've had in this lifetime. Maybe we agreed upon it in a past life. But souls tend to travel together. That's why you see a lot of what's called karmic debt or karmic ties with families. Do you notice how generations of families have the same problems? They're handed down, they're perpetuated, they're handed down, they're perpetuated. And when you're in that family, you don't think about breaking out of it because that's what's normal to you. So you don't see something as problematic when it's just how you've always done it. And even the problems that you have as a result of perhaps doing things in a dysfunctional way, it isn't dysfunctional to you, it's normal. So if you hear something like, that's how our family has always done it, that's just what our family does. That's just the way we are. That's indicative of a karmic cycle. That's not indicative of somebody who's saying something like that. They're not saying we can do better. Why don't we create a situation that's healthier for everybody? Why don't we create a situation that's happy for everybody? They're not saying that. They're saying, this is what we do. You see? And the wheel continues to turn. So back to the nakshatras. You're watching this video because you're concerned about what you're doing with your life. You have a sense of purpose. You have a sense of there's something else you are supposed to be doing in this life. You're here for something better. And you're a person who is trying to achieve something better. And that's why you watch videos like this. So this is what this solar eclipse is about. First of all, new moons are quiet times. They're dark times. There's no light. Eclipse times, eclipses are uncertain energy. So if you feel like the earth is moving under your feet, like nothing is certain, that's exactly how it is. This one is associated with Kali, Nirti, Durga, clearing energy, goddesses of destruction. So you're looking at where you're situated, you're seeing what's around you, you're seeing the problem with what's around you. You're also looking at the root causes of what this is and how you're situated, and you want to break it apart because you don't want to be part of this cycle anymore. Jyestha is in Antares, also associated with Mars. Conflict, severing. We learn about ourselves through conflict. We learn both who we are and who we are not. And in the same way, we learn about others in conflict. We learn who they are, how they handle themselves. We learn what's important to everybody. As a conflict doctor, I've seen this a lot. People tend to think about conflict as a negative thing. It's one of the most useful things available to you. It is the most useful thing available to you. Because when people are under duress, you really see what they are made of. You really see what their values are. And so during a period like this, where it feels like you're walking under the earth, again, Scorpio is in the 8th house. The 8th house is the underworld. This is why it's unpleasant. This is associated with another goddess, Hecate, the in-between. Mercury, the go-between. Also Loki, Thoth. These are the ones who could go to the heavens to speak to the gods, and then also to the underworld. The nakshatra of Mula is associated also with Varuna. Lord Varuna is the god of the seas, but he used to be the god of the sky. He fell. And so with that, he's a god associated with all-knowing. And he is all-knowing because he fell. And when you fall, you learn all the layers and you see everything all the way down. Your experience is that which would never be the level of enrichment if you'd always stayed at the top. So if you feel like you're losing something, if you feel like things are going badly, if you feel like you were in the dark, this is the way that you learn. When you come out the other side of a really difficult situation, you've grown in ways that you could have never foreseen. Now the Mercury is death and the magician. Death means the old way. It means you transform how you think, in this case. And the magician is the creation of something new. So there are two major elements that we're looking at here as we get into the individual signs. The first is what house the new moon solar eclipse is happening in, because that gives you where to be detached in order to transform. The second area is there's a square to Neptune, and Neptune is delusion. So that is the thing that will throw you off. That's the thing that you're not supposed to listen to. Cancer. This is for sun, moon, and rising. Now, this new moon solar eclipse is occurring in your 6th house of health, habits, daily routines. It's your house of work, the mundane, the everyday stuff that you do. And it's home, so it's kind of stuff you like. Now, where this tension is coming in is your 9th house. So you, as a Cancer, you like to be home and you like to be situated, but how you're going about your actual mundane life and what that looks like and how that's helping you become the person you're trying to be in this world, there's a tension. And so you're being asked to have a look at that and have a look at what your daily routines are, what your health is like, what your work habits are like, your relationships with your coworkers, if you're an employer, your relationship with your employees, but the people you are around every day, what impact is that having? And you're being asked to look at that very clearly and maybe think differently about it and think about different ways that you can go about it in a way that benefits you and is not necessarily pleasing to everybody else, but in a way that benefits your spiritual growth, because that's what this is about. Now, where you're going to get tripped up is that Neptune is in your 9th house with this. So what you do will be based on, say, like your religious ideals, what you've been told you are supposed to do. So for example, if the structure of your household is how you've been told religiously that it is supposed to be set up, and yet you are distinctly noticing that it is not the structure that is going to help you become the person you're trying to be, you see that's a bit of a tension. So what this is saying is ignore. This is like, let's say this higher education, higher learning, 9th house things. So the higher mind, but especially religious teachings. Sometimes experience tells you something different. Sometimes experience is just experience. So regardless of what should be, you're dealing with what is. And so what this transit is saying to you is ignore this business of 9th house, like what should be, the higher teachings. And you get grounded in what actually is and how you need to think differently about things and what changes you need to make in the daily implementation of your health, your nutrition, how you're taking care of things, what are your daily habits, and how are they helping you become who you are trying to be in this world. To sum up the energies, here's where we are right now, the in-between. The Mercury is really strong this time. Remember, Mercury is Hermes, is Loki, is Thoth, Hecate is another. These are the deities that are associated with being able to speak to the gods and to go to the underworld. They have access to the highest and the lowest, which gives them the best perspectives. What we find in the underneath: secrets. Secrets that we don't want to talk about. The roots of things that are way too personal to say out loud, that people wouldn't like it if we said it out loud. But the secrets that inform our thinking and inform our emotional bodies and drive us unconsciously. So we're being asked to break those up. The destructive energy brings us liberation. The clearing of things that we no longer need and that no longer help us on our path. When we get rid of those, they clear the way and they make room for things that we do want. When people who don't help us go away, when people who don't support us are out of our lives, it makes room for people who do support us and who do love us and who do want to see us at our best. Higher perspective, detached perspective. Go to the balcony. Look down and observe without emotion. Just study the board. Look at where you need to resituate things. Look at who and what belongs there to help you transform. And in that space you've just created, magic happens. The Fool, the Magician. This is the new world that you can create. And for now, because it's a silent time, because it's a time of the in-between, because it's just a quiet time of reflection, and the earth is still moving under your feet, and outside, everything is still changing, so you can't really make solid plans because nothing is exactly yet situated. So the final thing, devotion. Focus back to why you do what you do. Who are you, and what are you trying to bring into the world? What helps you do that, and what doesn't help you do that? It's truly that simple.